do you guys think the world's first novel was written about? I was shocked to find out that it's a 54-chapter novel written about seduction. And I learned this from Rebecca Stamborough, who is a master's in fine arts and wrote a really good article on the benefits of reading, which I'll be citing multiple times throughout this speech. Today, I really just want to talk about the mental and physical benefits we can get from reading and what they are. And I want to do this because, for one, I've been reading since I was in elementary, middle school, very avidly, and learning all the things that I learned while researching, along with my personal information, I really just was inspired to inspire you guys to read more. So what I want to talk about today are the negative impacts not reading can have on one's health, what you can do to improve your routine and how much you read, and what benefits you can pull from reading more. So first, I really want to talk about the negative impacts not reading can have on you. And I'm going to do that by talking about the negative impacts. So imaginativity and creativity is really decreased when one doesn't read often. And this is because reading, especially fiction, can stimulate the part of your brain that is creative. And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of people who read and draw or write go hand in hand. We see a lot of authors being really big readers, and that's because they were inspired. I also want to talk about how it is exercise for your brain. And I think that exercise for physical health is touched on really often and really commonly just in the real world and life itself. And I think that it's really important to remember that your brain is a muscle too, and it's really important to exercise it. And it's really easy to do that by reading, whether it be fiction, a magazine, whatever you have on hand. Also, cognitive function deteriorates if you don't read faster. Things like amnesia can be prevented by reading more, and if you don't read often, your cognitive function will deteriorate faster than one who does read often. So now that we've gone over a couple of the negative impacts, I really want to talk about what you can do to improve your routine and add into your lifestyle to read more. John Ranton, who's an entrepreneur, wrote in an article about how you can read more, talks about how small goals are a lot more attainable and they're more reachable, which inspires people to read more. If you set small goals, reading 5 pages a day, 10 pages a day, you might get stuck reading 20 or 30 because you're interested. And it ultimately helps you read more because you're not climbing a hill, setting an unreachable goal to finish a book in a week rather than finish a chapter in a day. He also says making it accessible to you is a really good thing to add to your routine, like taking a small pocketbook to your doctor's appointment to read in the office while you're waiting, and just finding or having something on your phone to make it more accessible, and just having it more on hand for your downtime so you can sit down for a few minutes, and if you have some free time, pulling it out to read a couple pages just to get your brain stimulated. Also, this is kind of a given, but I think people don't take this to heart. Read what you're interested in, because picking up something that does not interest you or does not pertain to you really will not be beneficial to you because you're not going to want to read it. I've experienced this myself with books that I thought were really interesting from the cover. I pick them up, I get 5-6 chapters in, there's no pull, there's no point of reading it because there's no interest and it's not really stimulating your brain like it's supposed to. So read what you're interested in. And on a little side note, I really want to talk about rosemary. It was just a little fun fact I read in an article, but rosemary is actually called the herb of remembrance and focus, and it can help enhance your focus if you're having a hard time focusing by yourself while reading. You can have some food with it in it, like rosemary steak or chicken or something like that, add it to that in time, or you can have some tea with it, but it ultimately helps your focus and will cause you to not want to read more, but be able to focus on what you're reading more. So now that we've gone over some routine stuff, I really want to talk about what effects you can see if you read often. So, Christine Cherney, who is a PhD in English and does a lot of articles on health, talks about how we can see improved empathy skills with avid readers. And this is because readers, especially readers of fiction, will see so many different points of view in their books that they can't help but think about how many different points of view there are in real life. And I second this because I feel like with my personal experience, I see so many different perspectives with reading, and it's really crazy to see how 3 different characters perceive this one experience as something completely different. And I just thought it was really interesting. I also want to talk about the Matthew effect, which was also brought up to me by Rebecca Stamborough. And it has to do with a Bible verse and vocabulary, but if you read more, your vocabulary is going to widen just because of all the words you're seeing regularly used in these books. And the Matthew effect basically means what it says, and that is, whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them, which is Matthew 13:12, meaning that the more people read and then the more people do for themselves, the more they're going to learn and more they can take from it, like vocabulary. And I think it's really, I thought that was really interesting because it is such a common effect that people improve their vocabulary, and there's a different name for the empathy, which I forgot. But that you see it happening so often that it gets its own name. And I thought that was super interesting. It actually, like I mentioned earlier, cognitive decline is really common in people who age, and reading often can prevent that cognitive decline as it stimulates your brain and keeps your senses sharp, and ultimately keeps those senses sharp and sturdy. I don't know. But I thought that was really interesting because my grandfather, he's getting pretty up there, unfortunately, and I see him and my grandmother taking care of themselves physically and making sure their brains are stimulated, and they're still pretty close to me even at their ripe old age of 80. And I also, this is a smaller one, but I thought it was really important. It also minimizes stress, and stress is a really common thing that everybody experiences in their everyday life, whether it's their job, school, work. I know I experience it, and reading can be really beneficial to lower your blood pressure and decrease your heart rate, which lowering blood pressure is like a manual de-stressor. There are people who are given medication for just blood pressure just because it manually de-stresses them. And I thought that was really important because it could be used as a coping skill when you have too much on your plate and you just need to relax and you're having a hard time relaxing. Once again, I know I've used that as a coping skill when I have too much on my plate, and I really relate to that a lot. Just like we close up books, I really want to close up this speech really nicely. Today, I talked about what negative impacts you can have from not reading, what benefits you can have from your routine, and what you can take away from reading off, and what benefits it can have to your mental and physical health. And I just want to let you guys know that you don't have to run a marathon to make yourself healthier, live a better lifestyle. Sometimes it's as easy as picking up a book and reading for a little while. Thank you.